Now, the next presentation will be done by Émeline DENEUVE, who is a curator in archaeology in another administration of state located in Bordeaux, which Bordeaux, perhaps you know, it's the capital of a big province in France named Nouvelle-Aquitaine. And Émeline is in a service dedicated to manage archaeology in this area, big area of the south of France. And she's also a prehistorian, and she works on a gravitation art statuette, you know, little women we have seen in a PowerPoint of Jean-Michel first day. And she will present us important discussion about cross-cutting issues about decorated caves, research, conservation, scientific promotion, and cultural outreach. And for all this, it's an important subject who covers all the aims of our workshop, nearly. And so she will take example from this area. Thank you, Émeline.
Thank you, Nathalie. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry, but I will be reading my speech because I'm not so comfortable with English. So the title of my presentation actually refers to several of the missions I carried out as in my job as a heritage curator, and which are more broadly entrusted to the Regional Directorate of Cultural Affairs where I work. And when Nathalie and Catherine contacted me to take part in this event, she asked me to orient this presentation from my point of view, so I don't claim to be exhaustive or neutral in what I will say. I'll begin my presentation by briefly explaining the framework within which my missions are organized in France and within the Regional Directorate of Cultural Affairs. I will be saying DRAC from now on for this big title. Before my institution. Before getting to the heart of the matter by describing a number of points which you'll see once again at my level, touch on the issues of knowledge development, conservation, and restitution to the public, whether informed or not, in caves and in rock shelters, using a few concrete examples. I hope I will be able to show you how it is sometimes possible and sometimes difficult, or at least a long-term job to bring them together. We'll see that while there's no general recipe that would ideally apply to all these sites, there are often solutions that can be developed for each one on a case-by-case basis. I said with the title, I chose it 10 days ago, and I'd go on some example from Aquitaine region, but you will see that my talk is rather unbalanced, and I'm going to talk a lot about Dordogne, which is a department I know best, to better explain the context in which I'm speaking by presenting more concretely the different subjects that apply from the micro to the macro scale. So for the frame, it's worth noting that most of the actions and the one of my colleagues you've been listening to or are listening to, will listening to today, the actions I'm about to describe are framed by the French Code of Heritage, which groups together the provisions of French law concerning heritage and certain cultural services, and we heard about one of them with Céline just now. That is important to say that by heritage, the law refers to all property, real or personal, in public or private ownership, that is historical, artistic, archaeological, aesthetic, scientific, and technical technical interest. The rules of this code apply to cultural properties, archives, and library in France, but of course we'll just speak about heritage. My work is guided by one of the sections of this big code, that is the book number 5, so a section dedicated to archaeological. I can refer you to maybe, I don't know, I wasn't here on Wednesday, but I think maybe Oscar Fuentes' presentation of Wednesday morning on the role of the Ministry of Culture, maybe he talked to you about that. And this and this code is linked, or our job is linked to other codes sometimes, like the l'environnement and the urbanism. So for my part, I work in an institution that implements the ministry policies at a regional level that we call un service déconcentré, deconcentrated service. This institution is, I said it, la DRAC, and in this case, in the biggest region, la Nouvelle-Aquitaine. It is involved in the field of knowledge, protection, conservation, and enhancement of heritage, promotion and of architecture, support for artistic creation and dissemination in all its aspects. It participates in regional planning, sustainable development, and social cohesion policies, as well as the evaluation of public policies. It contributes to scientific research in areas within its remits. It oversees the application of regulation and implements scientific and technical control in the above mentioned fields in liaison with the other relevant departments of the Ministry of Culture. And we will have an example with my colleague's picture afterwards. It develops also cooperation with local authorities, to which I can provide technical support where necessary. So the DRAC, les DRAC sont responsible for ensuring the coherence of cultural action within its territory. More precisely, since I work for the Regional Archaeology Service, my role is more specifically to enforce archaeological law through the prescription of preventive operation surveys, but also the instruction of files of research programs. That's what interests us today. But these research programs are initiated by researchers, and I will follow their work, apply a scientific control and support for this research, also a financial one. My service also contributes to the cataloging of sites and the promotion of archaeological research and artifacts, notably by providing financial support for various promotional activities such as publication, symposia, exhibitions, or other initiatives to promote archaeology to the general public. So the DRAC also supports scientific mediation structures such as you see here with the children Cap Archéo, or the pôle d'interprétation de la préhistoire that you may have seen in les Eyzies here, and works in partnership with others such as the Musée here, le Musée national de Préhistoire, or the Centre des Monuments Nationaux presented by Céline. To do this, our archaeology department is never alone, since we are in constant dialogue with researchers, owners, public or private institutions managing archaeological sites, particularly for decorated cave, and of course other government departments such as the environment department, and within the DRAC itself, to which I will return later. So more concretely, we have supported more than 20 programs involving decorated caves or related issues since 2007. I chose this this year because it's the one when I arrived in the service. I'm thinking in particular, for instance, of a research program on pigments, which was the subject of a previous workshop organized here 2 years ago. So here are a few examples of how the mission I described above have been applied to the research program listed here. You will understand that I had a hard time choosing these few cases among them. As you can see, Muriel's role or mine in DRAC is to reconcile research and conservation issues. We therefore work together, and with many colleagues, the files I'm about to present to you have been the subject of regular presentation within several bodies to present the issues developed, to gather the opinion of our peers, because the decisions that we took or that are taken, if it belongs to our institution, must be able to express as mean of conciliation. We don't decide alone. So here for the examples, many prehistoric sites belong to the French state, as Céline showed us, and decorated caves, because their singularities and extreme fragility are even the only type of property that the Ministry of Culture still plans to acquire to ensure their survival for a future generation. So in early November this year, the French government acquired two emblematic prehistoric sites, the Cro-Magnon shelter and the Magdalenian cave of Saint-Cirque, known as Le Sorcier. So I put a drawing of it, of him, in Les Eyzies here. Both are listed as historic monuments and form part of the Grotte Ornée and prehistoric site of the Vézère Valley, so listed on the UNESCO World Heritage List since 1979. The Cro-Magnon shelter and the Sorcier cave just thus joined the eponymous prehistoric sites and decorated cave, many of which already belong to the French state and that are presented by le Centre des Monuments Nationaux. We saw, as we saw with Céline once again. And it's important locally since it's in charge of several prehistoric sites in the Vézère Valley, and so it's in a logical way to present all the sites of the lists, of many of them of the list, and the one that Frédéric Plassard will present afterwards as a collective, in a collective way. These two sites in this cave were already presented to the public before, but over the last 10 years or so, 2 research programs have been carried out on each of them, respectively, revealing the need to recast the presentation itinerary in the light of recent discoveries at the ornate decorated ceiling, as you can see here, at Cro-Magnon. I don't know if you can see it because it's a wide opened rock shelter, so the decoration is not so visible, even not visible. And the decoration can be put in resonance with other sites from the same periods, so the Gravation period, in the same area. So you can compare it to the fish rock shelter you visited, or the à l'abri bateau. Ah bon, pardon, magic. So you may have visited. So despite everything, research must continue on these sites, which are so fragile that we would otherwise consider to close them to reassure ourselves, the curators. Despite the fact that they were discovered a long time ago, knowledge can be constantly renewed while respecting the preservation of these sites. The project to promote and mediate these 2 sites will therefore be developed over the coming months, and I'm looking at Céline. Of course, we have other tools at our disposal to protect these sites, notably regulatory and physical ones, which I'll talk about in a moment. We are also working to found, because I'm speaking about that because the ceiling is not so clear if you're under it. you cannot see properly the decorated ceiling. We're also working to find tools that will help both researcher and our preservation work. I'm thinking in particular of 3D models, and I'd like to refer immediately, of course, to Oscar Fuentes' presentation this morning. The French government is investing heavily in digitalization, it's been said too, especially on sites that are the subject of research, such as Comarque. I'm using it as an example because Oscar worked there, but he left, so I too bad. So Comarque, the Comarque cave is under this very big and beautiful castrum, a medieval castrum. And this is a very tiny cave, and it's physically impossible to allow a group of people to visit the Comarque cave due to its small size. The galleries are very narrow, and they would rub. Even conducting a research program there, and I'm speaking. I think I can speak freely, but Oscar knew what I meant, would have knew, yeah, right. Because even to allow a researcher in this cave seems to be to put the cave at risk. There is no such thing as zero risk, of course, but it's clear that cramped spaces are more exposed to the risk of friction, impact, and also to conservation risks due to the constraints borne by the environment in terms of inertia, pressure, and potentially higher CO2, dioxide, carbon dioxide, which can lead to corrosion points, etc. And we'll have a good look at it afterwards. So Comarque is not open to the public, which is fortunate to my point of view. But research in this cave allowed the public that visit the castle to find an exhibition, a panel exhibition in the castle, and the 3D model too. The investment can be even greater on sites that belong to the state and whose conservation and management has been delegated to our services. And I'm going to say a few words about the Cusack Cave. I thought you would have visited it, but I visited the exhibition, of course, not the cave, but you will, Natalie, tomorrow. So Cusack is an emblematic cave. It was decorated, and bodies were left there 30,000 years ago. And it's an emblematic site because it was discovered only recently in 2000, and for which we can reconstruct these different timelines that I will show you, of concerted actions carried out in parallel over the past 24 years, which had and still have the aim of understanding the site in order to pass it on. And I think, well, you will visit this site, the exhibition with Natalie, and she's the right person, definitely the right person to present this site. So it's a bit, I'm going too fast, but I'm sorry, but Natalie will comment. So the physical protection afforded by the site security measures and the regulatory protection procedures afforded by its classification as a monument, and then as a site, thanks to the environmental laws, have been fueled by knowledge of comparable sites, the remains of the cave, its networks, and its environment. It's a passion process. On the other, these are the logos, the images to c'est pas grave, symbol. This is another way to put it on. On this one, the different moments dedicated to the transmission of knowledge to the public, up to the discovery, up to the this year opening of the exhibition you will visit it. So what I wanted to show with these images is that the knowledge of the site from a tiny artifact to the cave, the karst, and also the landscape. All of that participate to the knowledge of the site, but also to protect it, and then it allows us to show it and to present it to the public. I'm sorry, it's too fast. This is another way to present it. So to the promotion, in 20 years, there were a lot of things that were done to promote CUSAC. And once again, Nathalie is the perfect person to ask questions. So the exhibition opened in October, and you will see that the main idea was to show you CUSAC the way the researchers can see it in the row. Ouais, in the row. And this visit is completed by digital outputs, archives, and replicas, and je suis perdue dans mes notes, pardon. Ok, je vais accélérer. Yes, I wanted to just show you that, of course, digitalization were made, and coupled with a wide-ranging policy of preservation actions and support for scientific, archaeological, and conservation research, it will make it possible in the long term, and while protecting them from a visit in situ, to show an accessible site. And this is a real objective, a mission of our public services, so that the investment of the state's money, which is therefore that of our citizens, is returned to them in the form of restitution areas, exhibition spaces, replicas, even if these structures are never profitable, even if these structures are never profitable. You will notice that CUSAC was sealed, so it's been 30,000 years between the moment that it was decorated and the time that we discovered it. And so there is no, I just wanted to see that there is no, this is not a living culture, as you noticed this morning, sir. And you will see that this exhibition is free to visit. So we fought, and Nathalie fought for this return to the public freely. We made sure that the results of research were made public in this exhibition, but there were, as I showed you, different time before, because we work for the common good, for the restitution of knowledge and beauty to the public, even if we are not the contracting authorities. We provide scientific, technical, and financial support for this project, which can range from scientific publication to exhibitions, symposia, so on. I said it already. These enhancements projects are supported by a number of players, often public, such as le département de la Dordogne, the Dordogne department, which is very keen to use heritage sites as a means of developing its territory as part of a long-standing territorial tradition. Another way of extending the discourse of a decorated cave that is otherwise open to the public, they can be partially visited, but whose preserved sectors will never be discovered, invested by researcher alone, or because inaccessible, is through publication. And I can just take the example of research, but I don't think I have time left. It was the one example out of Dordogne. So this is a nice, this is 3 caves in the same karst hill. And we support the publication of the results of this year after after the research. And I will just show you very quickly that research outside caves is also possible with the example of Lascaux. This is the final case. And it will allow us to make the transition with the Muriel talks comments in a moment. The aim of this program was to revise the cultural contextualization of Lascaux based on the analysis of archaeological artifacts and a morphological and spatial restitution of the Paleolithic soils of Lascaux Cave. The project therefore involved 2 research aspects, archaeology, but also conservation. In addition, the researchers compared the Lascaux collection with those from the Gabillou cave in order to clarify the chronocultural attribution of this site. It enabled them to carry out new dating on bone remains, confirming that Lascaux belongs to an early phase of Magdalenian. It has also enabled us to build a virtual collection of scattered objects because it was objects in private but also different public collections, and untouched cave and a new archive. So in conclusion, presenting cave art is of course possible, but not if one of the players in the transmission chain is not in favor of it. So I think presenting heritage requires a lot of synergy. If one of the cogs in the chain is overlooked, forgotten, or downplayed, when the whole thing will stall. I think too that a discourse disconnected from science won't have the same value. So the last thing I will insist on is that public money is spent several times for the well, it has to return to the public, to the citizens. Voilà. Together we're stronger. I think it's. So I think the program of this symposium has shown us that there are many of us, but we are not too many. But this plurality of players is what makes it possible to enhance heritage here. It was a bit lyrical. I'd like to end to thank the organizers. It was not a very easy exercise to me to pick up some example. I'd like to end and thank you all for the listening. Voilà.
Any question? Amanda? I'd like to sort of understand what the relationship is with the private landowners and the objects and things that might be in private care. Are they allowed to sell that material on? And if they die, does it come back to the state or does it carry on into the family?
That is a very good and very tricky question. I didn't speak about landowners because it was about decorated caves, and you will have one particular landowner just afterwards. We work together. We are here to support them as a landowner of a real real site. For the material, the archaeological material, it's very different because there is a long history of laws in France, but not so long because it just since 1941 that you have to be authorized to dig in France, and if you have the authorization, then there is a plurality of cases from 1941 till today. But basically, the owner of the land is the owner of the material till 2017, and now it belongs to the state if you are the owner of the land since 2017. If you're owner of the land before, it's not. So it applies for caves, but we don't acquire so much caves. Well, the state has the purpose to buy them, but there are not so many new caves that is not manageable, but many caves are in private property, and it's not. It's often not a subject. Je sais pas si c'est très.
Another question?
And also the questions that we had with the group yesterday, the cost of Cro-Magnon, the price. C'est pas une bonne question? See, because Nathalie explained us the price for Chauvet Cave. So that's French administration so agreed that it is 52,000 euros, the price for Chauvet Cave. So then for Cussac, 600,000 euros. And so, for example, for this last
what
purchase,
did you say in the
600,000 pour Cussac.
One, it's a bit more, but it was the price that were announced, but the state is not the only landowner for Cussac. We are still doing new acquisition, so it's not.
And so we were spoken about. So how much does it cost?
It's a bit different for Cro-Magnon and Saint-Cirque because there are woods, there are houses, there are commercial
infrastructures.
Yes, and so the price is not very representative for just a decorated cave or an emblematic site as Cro-Magnon. So,
and you know the criteria on which the state based the evaluation, for example, for Chauvet. So, what are the criteria behind this price?
The criteria is that we are working with another directorate, that is the finance directorate, and this one is has to give a price for what is not heritage. Also, it's what on top of the cave, above the cave, as woods, as houses, etc. That is not our job. And we will add a value for the symbolic, scientific, archaeological specificity of the site. That is very hard to it's not a good answer, I see on your face.
No, the question of the values is very interesting. It's just to try to understand what kind of values we have behind this kind of
the
price.
I don't get.
There is no good or no good answer. It was just to try to understand. That's fine.
Well, there are two different types of. There is the value of the le foncier, of the land, and that is there is a market for it. So it's very simple for the financial directorate to do it. And for the heritage, it's comparisons between sites, and Chauvet is our last example, and the one we will take to compare and to offer the owners a price en plus du foncier. Voilà.
At the risk of being boring to myself and to everyone else that has heard me ask this question, but I asked it several times yesterday, and I said, well, I should ask it today with yourselves here, is why are we not allowed to take photographs? Yes, it is once again, because in fact it's hugely irritating that French people go all over the world, take millions of photographs of rock paintings, but when we come here, we're told no photographs. And there's no proper explanation as to why it happens. So it might be boring for you, but it's irritating for me. All right, end of.
You can take photograph of the Eiffel Tower, but you're not allowed to sell it. You can take picture of sites that are outside from the les rues, from the public streets. Thank you. But in case of caves, it's a bit different because you have to enter them, and then sometimes it's for preservation reasons. Sometimes it's par les flashes. Bah si, oui, si vous mettez pas de flash dans le noir, il n'y a pas de photo non plus. Ok. Okay.
So it's a real question if it is linked with the right of the image, of the pictures, if it is linked with the right to commercial purposes. And so behind this question, basically, it's embedded so many things. Yeah. It's combined so many huge questions regarding the access to the site. So that's why also we have this.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm the right person to answer because all the sites that we are managing in my institution are not open to public access. So I don't know.
Is it a matter of law?
Perhaps I can try to answer once for all the question of Aaron. I don't know exactly why, but in fact, the fact you can take photo in a cave is the same in other place. For example, there is castle, you can take photos, and there is other monuments you can. And sometimes, and I think here, as said Melanie, there is different reasons. Sometimes it's conservation. For example, for cave, we had a very old document, le legal document named Circulaire de 1980 ou 82, je sais plus, where photographies were really strict managed because it's not just in cave a problem of photography, it's a way to do the photography, the access, sometimes you need special instruments to put and all this. Well, sometimes it's a problem of conservation, but also it's a problem of rights, of personal rights, of property. And you can't, in France, you can't be against an owner who doesn't want to take photo in his property. You understand the?
When it's a state.
No, it's not the state. It depends on the case. Sometimes you can, sometimes you cannot, and sometimes well, there is also we are not here for a jurist conference, but sometimes there is a jurisprudence, I don't know the word in English, jurisprudence, yeah, in French, that is saying an owner don't have the exclusive use of the picture of his property. It's a jurisprudence. But if you want to take photographies in a cave of Frederick, Frederick decide because it's a right, is right, and it's also a recommendation of this old circular of 1980. You cannot take pictures in Rofinac. It's right to decide this and to be like the decisions we were taken in a moment by the Ministry of Culture. But if an owner wants, I think he can't, except if there is a vigilance of state service, like Émeline explained, that this picture and the way to do this picture can cause damage to the cave. You see, it's not yes or not, it's not black or white, it's not for this reason or this other reasons, it's a complex situation, I think. That refers to a jurisprudence complex of rights of pictures.
But definitely, Aaron, there is a good paper to do. And I just have the title, Don't Take Any Pictures.
But it's boring, actually.
But I think
I really want to write that paper.
it's a very good question. And after, sometimes people, they will reproduce an interdiction without to know, without to know. For example, in Altamira, in the replica of Altamira, you can take so many pictures at once, for example.
But you can't take in the Cap Blanc.
Yeah, but in Chauvet Cave, in the replica, Chauvet 2, you can't take pictures. In Altamira, you can. So why? So, for example.
Well, because there seems to be a lot of confusion.
Yes, I think it's a very good paper. Yeah.
Muriel Tour. On passe à Muriel. Encore une question? Ah, ainsi là.
Yeah, I want to take back the discussion to the issue of valuation. So I'm quite interested in that because I think it's how we come up with value for archaeological heritage. So you said that you have the financial department that does the other established values like the market value for the land, market value for the houses and others. But then what about the archaeology? How did you value that?
In fact, we spoke about Chauvet Cave, but Chauvet Cave itself, the price of Chauvet Cave itself was given. I don't know, Muriel, if you want to participate and answer, but I can answer. Yes, okay. The price of Chauvet Cave was a comparison with the price that the state gave to Le Comte de la Rochefoucauld, who was the owner of Lascaux. But not to say that the price of Lascaux was this price, but to say, okay, we are closing your cave because it doesn't get well. So you will lose money because you cannot organize a guided tour. It's the end. So it's un dédommagement. Un dédommagement. It was DIPL. It was a compensation. It's a compensation en français. A compensation because he couldn't make the visits of Lascaux anymore. You know, there was this price given to somebody for a cave, but the story, the history of the selling and the buying of caves in France just remembered that this price was a price for a cave, a decorated cave, and it was used for Chauvet and then for other sites and then for Cussac, and then we just gave something that was similar for Cro-Magnon and Saint-Cirq, the two sites I spoke of. But it's very difficult. We cannot say, okay, this mammoth, it's this price. Okay, this, you know, it's not possible because it's there is no market. It's not a modern painting which is sold in there is not a decorated cave market, so we don't have comparisons. I don't know if it's clearer.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's clear that you have a precedence.
Yes.
So
exactly
that was set, and I guess you are saying the value of that and what you could have earned over the years is what we are compensating you for. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And for emblematic sites, it's okay because Lascaux, it's like Chauvet, it's like Cosquer, it's like Cussac, it's emblematic sites. It's not a very tiny decorated cave with I don't know 10 figures 10 engravings, or it's I don't know. It's the exceptional character of these sites that is retenu, that is taken.